Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Whale Nerds Podcast. This is episode number 84. My name is Slater, and I'm here with Adam and Katlyn.
What's up?
Hello.
We back.
Finally.
I'm back.
Just the three of us.
Yeah, I was gone. I had some really important, meetings to go to, and
Whatever.
some important whales to see.
Famous instead of working on the podcast.
Wow.
I had to hang out. with my dog a little bit.
More like you had to clean the bunk room, clean the head on the boat.
Oh man, I had to clean the boat hard. I had to fix some things, fix some plumbing,
impeller bits from the generator.
Fish out impeller bits. It was a good time. Boats just fall apart sometimes, and you just gotta deal with it.
Don't worry, the Condor Express is totally safe and functioning.
Even though today, Adam made a post that says our boat greater than yours.
Dude, it's a sick ass boat. You can't even lie.
Compensating on social media, Adam?
Nah, I would never. Look at that boat. Anyways, what's up, dudes?
Welcome back, friends. We let's start with sightings.
Yeah,
Katlyn's had a pretty epic week. I already know because I talked to her.
That's so not true. Okay, I'm not saying that the whales were not epic, but it is July 20th as of when we're recording this episode, and it has rained for 18 days this month.
Ugh.
Yeah,
I thought it was July. What the heck?
It's rained like one day for us.
That's been tough. I've worn my rain gear more in the month of July than I have the whole rest of the whale watch season so far, which is kind of gnarly. But we have had humpback whales pretty close, so that's been nice. And we've seen minke whales and fin whales occasionally. We've only had a handful of sightings of Atlantic white-sided dolphins this month, which is kind of normal. We get a lot of them in the spring, and then they slow down in the summer. So yeah, a couple mom calf pair of humpback whales, and a couple of the calves have had a really rough go. This one whale, her name is Nine. Her calf already has like some weird buoyancy issues, and then now it has propeller scars and entanglement scars.
Oh my god.
It like has some sort of respiratory issue. It's just the poor little thing. I'm always pleasantly surprised to hear that somebody saw it each day, because this little thing is just getting beat up.
What does it have on it?
It has prop scars and entanglement scars, but like even the first time we encountered it like has this weird like posture where it's like where its dorsal fin sticks up way higher out of the water than like the normal swimming profile of a whale, and it is always constantly exhaling out of its left blowhole while it's swimming. So it's like always blowing bubbles basically, and it like never dives down very deep. And so like I'm not sure how deep it can actually dive, which is part of why I think it has propeller scars, because it like just logs at the surface all the time. So yeah, poor little whale. It's still, I mean, they saw it yesterday, so it's still around, but yeah. And then another calf also had some prop scars on it this season. So it's been a little bit of a rough go for these baby humpback whales this year. I don't know what's happening.
And what's the deal with Sage? Sedge is
a cool whale.
My boy.
Yeah, I think it's a he. So we actually here at Cape Ann Whale Watch, we worked with some researchers from the WISE lab and helped them identify humpback whales, and then like they came out on the boat and like checked out whales with us, and they were able to biopsy Sedge. And I said, like, let me know as soon as you get the designation if he's male or female, because I think he's male, because I got photos of his underside earlier this season, and if he is male, he's the biggest male humpback whale I've ever seen, ever. He's huge. And
huge.
He also has a lot of entanglement scars, like the back of his dorsal fins cut up pretty bad. He's got like big serrations on his tail, but he's a pretty cool whale. He's done some nice surface activity for us a couple times during different trips, and he's been pretty consistent. So he's a whale we've watched a lot this season. But yeah, that's what's been going on up here. Rainy and windy and foggy and humpback whales.
Katlyn, when you were living in Monterey, did you see a whale by the name of Prop Top?
Probably. I didn't know the ID super well there because there was not to sound spoiled, but there were so many whales every day.
Yeah,
Like,
Adam.
you couldn't really keep track of them.
So many whales that we can't even keep track up
And
here.
a lot of them are like type 5s that were there those
Yeah,
years.
Type 5s. You hear that?
And so they're
Yeah,
like,
do you know what that means?
Super exclusive.
All their tails look the same. You're like, I don't know. There's another one with a black tail. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
funny that you say that because the last few whales, some of the whales I saw like yesterday or the day before had like solid black tails with just a few little like light scratches on them.
Exactly.
So, anyways, yeah, there was this calf that Andrew saw. Well, or no, not a calf. Sorry, there was that whale that Andrew saw, and I guess they know him by Prop Top. And then I guess feeding alongside of him or hanging out near him was another whale that had a huge chunk taken out right behind the like dorsal fin, like right really close to the fluke, and it was like a big open.
Oh, on the tail stalk?
Yeah, on the tail stalk, and then it was really open. You'll have to look up the picture.
Oh,
but
like it's still like it's
yeah,
like
look up the picture if you can real quick on Andrew's Instagram while we're chatting.
Okay.
But yeah, it was crazy.
I mean, here in unfortunately most places that I've seen humpback whales, except for Hawaii, they have a lot of human interaction scars. Like here we have whales with prop scars and entanglement scars. And then in Monterey, I have photos of at least a half dozen individual whales that are missing half their fluke.
Oh yeah, what is that?
Look, it almost looks like he has a dorsal fin down at the bottom of his fluke, huh? Because of the way it like cut it up. See, we don't know if maybe just the bow of the boat hit it or like a prop went by. I don't know. It doesn't even look like any. It looks so weird, and it also looks very like it looks like maybe it got affected and it's kind of opening up down the sides. You see that?
Like it got like shredded.
Yeah.
We have a whale out here in the North Atlantic named Owl who has like a huge. It looks like a bow collision, like a collision with the bow of the boat. Like this huge gash across her back between her dorsal fin and her blowhole. It's kind of crazy.
Were you on the boat that day, Katlyn?
Oh wow, look at that.
When the whale got hit by the boat?
No, I was in the office.
Which is so fun, which is so random because Margot happened to be on the boat that day. And it was like, but that, I mean, even that calf that got hit by the boat, but granted, it wasn't a big boat, still, like, took some skin off the side of it, but it healed right over. Not even 2 months later or 3 months later, we saw it in October and it was fine.
So whatever caused this scraped down from the tail stalk down towards the
yeah,
because that's tissue that's all balled up at the end.
Yep. Smart thinking. That's science right there, Katlyn. Put it in the books.
Science.
And that's a pretty clean
scientist.
Yeah, right? It's not like a prop. Like
no.
A prop would leave it like like a screw.
No, that's bizarre looking.
Yeah, so that's sad, but well, at least they seem to both be doing well. So, Adam, what's with you, dude? I know you had a breachy whale today.
Yeah, this guy was breaching today. We've had humpback whales every day for like pretty much since March, and I think they dipped out for a while. Like there's a couple of days where we had like one or two, maybe three, for probably like a week. That tends to happen in July. But now they're back in full force. We had like 8 today, and I think the Island Packer boats, let's go out at Ventura, had like 6 or 8 as well. So they're back in full force, which is awesome. We had one breacher today. It's funny, we were talking about like types, like type 1, type 5. And one of my favorite whales, Dos Equis, is a whale that I named a while ago. He has a completely black tail, and I've seen him like 3 times since I first saw him do that like really weird trap feeding behavior, and I've never seen him do it since. But every time I see him, I don't even recognize him because you can't recognize it, and it's just a black tail. And so I'll get a notification from like Happy Whale, and it's like, oh, you saw Dos Equis, and I was like, what? I had no clue.
Missed it.
Dos Equis is probably not even your friend, dude. He's like, you can't even remember
Dude,
me?
he doesn't. He's not. He's never gonna trap feed for me again. Oh, dude, I remember that. That's like the
I
coolest.
think he
That
had
was
some
the coolest thing
anchovies
I've.
stuck in his mouth, dude.
Dude, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen. Like a humpback whale do.
If we get that, it's kind of like that guy. Was it Birdie that got it off of Sri Lanka? What was it? A sei whale or something?
That was with a Brutus.
Brutus
whale.
Brutus whales off of Thailand.
I guess
Thailand,
Eden's whale.
not Sri Lanka. Thailand. Yeah, that's the coolest flip ever.
That was the part of my like career where I wasn't really allowed to fly off the boat because I had a freaking Mavic at the time. I didn't have a Phantom or anything. And so like, but just like thinking back to that, like that drone footage would be insane. Like watching him swipe the water, create a current, swivel around, open his mouth, trap feed, like pirouette. Like
I haven't even seen that clip.
But it's cool, like when you actually look at the footage and like I hypothesize that like at the time he was a smaller whale and like the bigger whales in the area were all just like heavily surface feeding on like these huge bait balls of anchovy. And it just seemed like he was a small whale that was like getting out competed and like he had to figure a way to kind of corral the fish, which that's what I think. But just watching it was super cool.
What if like humpback whales when they're young come up with all these weird feeding strategies because the big whales like don't let them feed with them yet?
Well, that's
and
what
then
I'm
as
saying,
they get older, the big whales like kill their creativity and they're like, nah, man, you gotta do it like this or you can't feed with us.
Well,
that's like, I don't want to get hit in my right ear with your pec fin because you're freaking waving around all funny. Like, get in formation and open your mouth.
I mean, I wouldn't doubt it. Like, it's just kind of funny. How they like, I don't know. It seemed like he was creatively trying to figure out a way to feed.
And
we've also seen a whale. Oh, we've seen tons of dolphins every day.
Dolphins.
It's like in the beginning of our season,
Katlyn?
It's weird that like what?
Well, it's just funny. It's not that far from me. Like, it's literally just not that far from me.
Yeah.
Like, especially as like a dolphin swims or a whale swims, like, it's just around the corner.
I mean, it is quite a bit colder, I think, in Monterey than it is in Santa Barbara.
We always kind of say like Conception's kind of the cutoff, it seems like. But yeah, we've been seeing tons of dolphins, and it's really like Slater and I were talking about this the other day. It's interesting, like the beginning of our season was really weird for us, and it wasn't normal. It was humpback whales everywhere and sea lions as far as the eye could see. And we never really get that. And it honestly looked like Monterey. Like it looked like just sea lions and whales everywhere. And there's absolutely zero common dolphins. Like we went 2 months straight without seeing common dolphins, which was really weird for us. And then, and it seemed like at the time, the whales were much more prone to lunge feeding, to feeding at the surface. Right. And so since we've had the common dolphins return and the sea lions have kind of dissipated, it seems like there's not as much surface feeding. So Slater and I were talking about that. Like, I don't know if the sea lions are better at corralling the fish to the surface or what. Like, and obviously the dolphins do it as well, but we just haven't seen it, which is kind of interesting.
Well, if you ask like John Kalamakidis or Ari Friedlander about the sea lion and whale thing, their impression based on the video tag footage is that the whales are doing the herding and the sea lions are just coming in to take advantage. Whereas like common dolphins in general are pretty well known for their herding strategy while feeding. And so then maybe the whales are taking advantage of the dolphins in that case. I don't know, but the dynamic's definitely different.
Yeah, I think there is a different dynamic between the two, but it's just super interesting.
Well, when we had humpbacks in Newport, when they started showing up in Newport, and they were always smaller whales for the most part, besides like Wally and Loma, I think at the time. And every time we had them, they were always, if they weren't with the dolphins, they were seriously like a quarter mile behind the dolphins or like even less, 1/8 of a mile. And they were always chasing like, like the dolphins were finding the food and then the humpback was going to them.
Yeah.
Every time we had them, they were trailing behind the dolphins. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe the dolphins just eat things different, faster, or I don't know.
I mean, same thing here. Like, we essentially, when you head out of the harbor, you start looking for pods of dolphins, and eventually you're going to find a whale. Like, that's just kind of how it is. And it's it's with the commons pretty much 90% of the time. The whales are. So
I feel like that's how it was in Newport. It's like if there were whales around, they were going to be with the dolphins, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, but you said you're starting to lose your sea lions, right, Adam?
Yeah, we really haven't been seeing a lot of sea lions. Like we do a blog and we keep track of sea lions and dolphins and everything. And like I said, at the beginning of the season, it was just like rafts like of just thousands of sea lions, and there's whales coming up, feeding through them and everything. And then there's this weird switch where just like the sea lions have dissipated and the commons really came in. So I mean, it seems like those, like it would make sense that the commons and the sea lions might be competing, like they're secondary consumers.
Well, also think about where you're at. You're in the Channel Islands where the sea lions go to breed. So the sea lions are probably out there eating right before they head up the coast.
Yeah.
And so you get them in that
breeding
time.
season, right?
Yeah, right now it's breeding season. Exactly. June, July, the Channel Islands.
So they probably eat. They probably eat real quick right before they go into the island, and then after the island, they come up to hang out with me.
Maybe we could, like, I don't know, film that interaction through a documentary that might be coming out at some point.
Well, let's Slater talk about his sightings first.
I don't got.
Oh shit, you're right.
Gosh, Slater, you guys had.
I don't got nothing.
You both had a bomb calf blue whale, didn't you?
Oh, yeah, we could talk about that day. Adam came up and we went whale watching together, and
just
went
two best
down
friends on a little boat watching whales, holding hands,
tank full of gas and batteries for our cameras. No, we went. Probably at one point. At one point I got mad at him. I'll be honest. I got mad at him.
He did get mad at me.
I'll tell them why. So we went whale watching, and we knew there was blue whale sighted down off Carmel Bay. So we just basically jammed straight to the point, and then made a left and went towards Carmel. And right when we got down there, we saw two blows that were tall. We figured we actually thought they were just humpbacks. So they were really close to Cypress, like literally right by Cypress Point.
You thought they were humpbacks.
Well, I mean, either way, they were whatever we thought we were. We were just like, we'll check out and see what they are, and then we'll keep going, because that wasn't near the numbers that we were given by a fishing boat that morning. And so we waited, and then two blue whales ended up popping up behind us, and it was a mom baby blue whale, and they were right by the buoy off Cypress Point. Like they were really close to shore.
Yeah. They get right in there.
And then they followed that ledge out to like whatever 02 or something, and then we had a mom baby blue whale. It was freaking epic. We saw we had Dall's porpoise, and that's where Adam freaking had a panic attack, dude. Oh my god, this kid is like, it's like, okay, we need to film with the drone, because like it's pretty hard. Like you don't see Dall's porpoise a lot, and they were feeding, like they were clearly feeding and like chasing a school of bait around in like circles. And Adam is like, has his drone ready, but he like can't stop spazzing out. He's like, has his phone in one hand, his drone remote. He's ready to fly. He's just got a freaking. And I'm like, hey, dude, you need to chill out. Let's get the drone up, and then you can get your Instagram selfies later, dude. Like, let's go. And so he ended up finally, and then he wanted to like stand right in front of me, and it's like, I'm the one that has the camera that like it's gonna record like the topside stuff. And so it was pretty funny. But yeah, so I got frustrated with Adam because he was like doing
he definitely got PO'd. He got pretty mad. And I was like, dude, I'm freaking, dude. Have you ever had dolls that interactive? We left them too. We were gone for 30 minutes filming the blue whales. We came back and they came right back to our boat.
Oh, like you're asking a question, but it's like, come on,
yes, Adam, I have.
That was for sure the best Dall's porpoise I've seen. I have seen them quite a few times bow ride on like the Tabasco or whatever, but it's different on my boat. You know what I mean? Like we were right in the mix with them.
Yeah,
but like
for ACS Monterey Summer Whale Watch fundraiser trip, we had Dall's porpoise like that, and it was wild. It was like super foggy, and then all of a sudden the fog lifted, and it was like sea lions and humpbacks, and then all of a sudden these Dall's porpoise showed up.
So magical.
Yeah, dude, it was awesome. It was like you like got to see back in time, like this veil of fog lifted, and we knew there were lots of whales around because we'd found this one patch. And when the fog lifted, you could see 6 other feeding groups within, the 1.5 miles of visibility that it opened up. And then like the Dall's porpoise came in, and then like 35-40 minutes later, the fog just sucked right back in. So it was like you just got this little glimpse as to like that's
so
how Monterey
cool.
Bay used to
Like
be
there is
magically
life.
back in time. And then like it was back to reality. Like
wow, that's actually pretty epic.
All
right, never mind. I'll shut up.
One of the coolest trips I've been on.
No, Adam.
No,
Katlyn, we had it.
I'm not taking away from your trip, but I'm just saying, yes.
How many times have you seen Dolls Porpoise? They come over to the boat and they split. Like we had them literally coming to the boat, circling the boat, feeding in front of the boat. Like we stopped. They actually did not like us stopping. They would rather us keep going.
No, they want you to keep going. And they want you to go pretty fast to stay out.
Dude,
we were ripping at 18 knots.
We were leaving, going to Blue Whales, and these things jam over to us. They're doing 18 knots. And they're not just doing 18 knots. They're out in front of us, cutting back, jumping into the bow.
They're
like
very
leaving,
chaotic
like,
bow riders.
They don't have like a chill bow ride mode. They have like freaking, I'm in your face, I'm gone. I'm in your face, I'm gone. Like, they're on some
most of the time, the whale watch boats in Monterey can't go fast enough to keep them interested.
I think that's partly why we had such a good show, to be honest.
Maybe. That's actually a very good point.
Dude, not to mention we're going 18 knots and these freaking Dolls Porpoise are chasing a smelt. No, they're chasing smelt out of the water at the same time.
Yeah.
That was
and they
so
were
cool.
outgunning us 100%.
Yeah.
But it's funny, like there's no way to capture that moment. Like we were trying from the drone, we were trying from our phone, we were trying from the R5, we were trying from every other camera and different angle, and it's just like you can't capture it
until our contact lenses can record 4K 120, dude. Like
literally.
That Adam.
But I guess you can kind of capture it through like when you talk story like this, right? Like you can share.
Yeah,
with
absolutely.
People. And even if the footage doesn't do it justice, just like hearing your firsthand account to go with the footage is always nice.
So, but after what did you? That was a few weeks ago, though, right, Adam? Like, because then Margot. I think you came. Then Margot's family came for a week, and then so during the last week it was kind of bad weather, and then up until 4 days ago, in the last 4 days I've been out, and it went from like. Well, there was blue whales sighted each day, like two to three.
And they're still around, right?
Yeah, they were still out there this morning, I think, but they were getting their butts kicked this morning. It was bad weather. I mean, it was 5 foot swells at 8 seconds. It was just really, and then it was starting to get windy, so it was not super fun. But so there was blue whale sighted, and then there was humpbacks. But what was cool is the last couple of days, so let's say like 4 days ago, there was like 2 or 3 sea lions that were like. You'd be out at the corner and they'd pop up, right? And like randomly sea lions were just popping up everywhere you were, like one though. And then 2 nights ago, I found, someone else found whales. Bill found whales, and then he ended up leaving and I stayed, and the whales kind of split up. But one whale found a raft of sea lions, and they slowly, it was like 4-minute dives, and then it went to like 2-minute dives, and then it went to like sea lions are just constantly on the surface pretty much. And then the whale lunge. I was like this, and I was live on Instagram too, which was super cool. I was like, you guys, there was literally one bird and the dives were really long. And now there's like 30 birds, sea lions are on the surface. And then sure enough, it freaking lunged. And it was like, you could see like it totally, they went from like the bait was at 200 to 300 feet and it slowly like came to the surface. And then, and then they gobbled it all up. But yeah, it was really cool. That was the first like lunch feeding with sea lions I have seen so far, so I'm hoping it continues to get better and better.
Nice. And then you had a good mom calf interaction too, right?
Yeah. So the next day, speaking of that whole like fog, right? This was the first time that I've been on the boat when we do this, where you go to an area that had whales the night before. Jackson had gone out before me, so he's like, I see a whale here, but I like literally can't keep track of it because the fog. And so he ended up going in. He had got a couple looks. Well, I'm literally shutting my engine off, listening for the whale, turning my engine back on, going towards the blow and finding it. Like it was so awesome. Like I you can't make it up. It was just so like, and then so then I held the whale. Kate comes out on Blue Ocean. She comes out and now she's with me, and like same thing. We're waiting, and then the fog lifts, and then there's like 8 whales, like all there. And the funny thing is I was live on Instagram and I had one whale blow. And I was like, that's not my whale. Like it's too far in the distance. And then sure enough, the whale right behind me. And I'm like, yes, I'm so glad I like was patient because otherwise in the fog, you'll just be ping pong.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the fog lifted up and we had I actually was following a pair of full grown humpbacks and it led me to a cow calf pair that Kate actually had and she left. The mom did one chin slap. Well, when the two bigger whales met up with them, it had nothing to do with it. They didn't like actually meet up, but they got really close to each other to where like I could just drive 100 yards the other way and go to them. And the calf like flew out of the water. And then it continued to fly out of the water for honestly over an hour and a half, like every minute and a half, it took 2 breaths, fluke, and then breach. The mom only breached, I think, like 4 times out of the whole encounter. But yeah, the calf went absolutely bonkers. Like I was literally able to just like basically idle, if not be stopped, and watch this calf go nuts. It was really cool though, because when the mom did breach, it was like she fluked up. And when she breached, it was a full breach where like the calf was kind of, some of them were like full, some of them were like half breaches. And like, it was like, no, this is how you breach. Like, you know what I mean?
Either that or it was like she went off again just to keep the calf going because she's like, you don't have all your energy out yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So
funny.
First time in like, how many years have I been working on the ocean now? 6 years, 7 years? I got skunked in the fog for the first time in 7 years. I don't think people realize how like there is a big set of skills to find whales in the fog. And for the first time in 7 years, I got skunked in the fog.
In Massachusetts?
Yeah. But I mean, I've watched whales in the fog a lot.
Yeah.
And this is the first time.
I think it's easier in Monterey to watch whales in the fog, probably.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. The fog was just real heavy and we just didn't luck out one day this week, but like we've watched whales in the fog at least a half dozen times in the last 10 days.
You know what I think though too, because it's funny because I was sitting there, I was like, oh my god, I was like, you know what? I can picture me finding whales better in the fog, and I think it's because you're really aware. You're looking for like, I mean, obviously you have a radar, but you're looking for boats. You're looking for like everything. So it's like you're really like looking at that like horizon as much as you can see on the level. So if you see that back, like. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It's almost, I almost feel like sometimes you're looking 10 times harder in fog. So it's like it might be, it's not easier, obviously, but it feels like it could be in a way.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like people just think we're just making it up until they actually see the whale when they're on a trip, you know?
I wish we could have everyone that listens to this, like be in that moment where I shut my engine down and you hear, and you're like, turning left. And like, it's just so cool.
One year we had smoke and fog. It was the year of that fire in Big Sur, the Sobranes fire.
Oh yeah. I remember that.
We watched whales in the fog and smoke for like 2 weeks straight, and there were fin whales, blue whales, and humpback whales all right off Point Pinos, and you could tell the difference between the species by listening to their blow in the fog.
Wow!
Like that was the craziest part.
Oh yeah, you can tell a blue whale and a humpback so easily.
But even the fin whale, like you'd be like, nope, that's a fin whale.
Yeah. I forget what I was gonna say.
Oh, one of those moments.
Okay, so that's our big long catch up because the 3 of us haven't been on an episode in a long time. We also have some like actual podcast updates. So
whale nerds updates.
Yeah, whale nerds updates, I should say. That's a better way to put it. Some of you have seen on our social media that we have started to talk about a project called California Seasons. And this is a film project that we're in the process of getting footage for right now off the California coast. It's going to celebrate and showcase the marine ecosystem of California and break it up by season. So sort of talk about how the whole year is connected throughout the entire ecosystem. It's mostly going to be about marine mammals, but we can't ignore the other parts of the ecosystem if you're going to talk about marine mammals because they're not, they don't exist in a vacuum out there. So yeah, we're just still like writing and storyboarding and filming, and we're very excited to be working on this project. It is going to be a educational documentary style film. And we do have some people that I've chosen to support our film. It's an independent project that we're putting out. And for those of you that have already financially supported us, we really, really appreciate your donations. If you're interested in learning more about the project or how to donate, there is more information on our website, which is thewhalenerds.com/productions. That'll take you right to the page about California seasons. And there are tiers for the donations and different benefits for whatever tier you select. So yeah, we're excited.
And if you are on our website, there's one more cool update that you might kind of find out on there, because there's a big button that says book now. The button is active and you can go there, but the trip hasn't been completely set up yet. We're looking to set up our first trip together as Whale Nerds, a Whale Nerds trip in the fall. It'll be in Monterey. The dates, I believe, are the 14th, 15th, and 16th.
Yep.
And so, yeah, it's going to be like a 3 days of whale watching, some really cool stuff. Hopefully we're going to have some guest speakers, do some dinners together and talks. And yeah, it's going to be really exciting. So yeah, that's another thing that we're working on. Hopefully that'll be finalized in like the next few days. And then that'll be available to book as well.
Yeah, so the items on our calendar right now, so you can kind of just see like a really like a draft version of the event. But if you sign up for our email list, we will send you an email once the item is live and ready for active booking. It's only going to be 25 people for the weekend of events, and it'll be attendance for all 3 days is how it's going to be packaged. And in addition to, doing some whale watching and doing some science stuff, it's also just a really great opportunity to meet other whale nerds. I mean, the whale world is pretty small, but especially if you feel like you don't know very many people or you haven't seen very many whale nerds in person because of COVID, if you feel comfortable joining us on that trip to California, we'll be going out of Moss Landing whale watching, and we'll be doing some other things around Monterey Bay. So we're excited to see you all in person.
You could see it.
Dude, I just got shivers down my spine.
And you may or may not be able to see Adam's mustache.
No, you will be shaving that mustache before the trip, Adam. I will not be seeing you in person like that. For those of you that are watching this Patreon video, I'm sorry, but Adam's mustache is just atrocious.
Hurtful. I have a thick
I've been telling you this for days, dude. Days.
Okay, but listen, some people like it. Okay, all the Santa Barbara chicks, the mustache is a thing here in Santa Barbara.
God.
All right,
so Adam, you're not talking Santa Barbara. Chicks. Please stay away from Adam right now.
It's a thing. It's like a SoCal hipster nature guy thing, so that's the kind of role I think.
SoCal hipster nature guy. That sounds like such a turkey burger.
I wish
dude.
I could describe the horrified look on my face.
I guess you just have to support us on Patreon to see it. So
oh my god, or don't. We're gonna lose Patreon people from this. Like what?
Oh my god, she's actually hurting your feelings right now, Adam. I knew that we were going to talk about.
I wasn't going to bring it up. He brought it up.
I knew we were going to talk about sightings and host updates, and it was going to take a while. I knew because we had it because Adam's freaking. He hasn't been around
because my mustache.
No, that and because he hasn't been around for a few episodes. So we needed to. We haven't had an actual regular episode.
We've been doing a lot of guests and stuff. So, but it's definitely good to catch up and do sightings and stuff. And I am super excited for the trip. And California seasons, I think we're really starting to crank on the things that we've always talked about, which is super exciting for us. We've been putting in a lot of work, and now it's starting to come to fruition. Let's go.
Or wish.
All right. So the topics that we actually prepared for this episode pretty much have nothing to do with everything else we've just talked about.
Yeah, it's completely different. I mean, completely different.
I've mentioned this on other episodes, I think, but we basically have this huge topics bank that we pull from and put together an episode each week. And unless
there's
Katlyn, and then we join into your greatness.
There's where the we comes in.
Share the credit, but okay, the topics list that I make,
there
and then put together for each episode, and. So sometimes it might seem kind of random, but basically the thing that connects everything in this episode, other than it's all about killer whales, is that it's all recent publications about killer whales. So we're going to talk about different killer whale publications that have come out since March this year. that we've banked up enough of them to put them all in one episode about killer whales around the world. So the first paper that I was reading came out in March of this year, and it's northern resident killer whales and southern resident killer whales are the topics of discussion. So back to the Pacific Northwest. The title of the paper from the journal Endangered Species Research is Passive Acoustic Monitoring Reveals Spatiotemporal Segregation of 2 Fish-Eating Killer Whales Populations in Proposed Critical Habitat. So what does that actually mean? So basically they put in these passive acoustic monitoring devices. They're called ears, which were actually developed by Mark Lammers, who's a humpback whale researcher in Hawaii. But they're these underwater microphone systems that recorded at 15 different sites in Oregon and Washington to just sort of passively monitor whatever is going on in those areas. And so anytime they picked up acoustic detections of a resident killer whale, whether it was northern or southern, they pulled the data from those sites. And throughout the study period, northern resident killer whales were detected at 11 of the 15 sites, and southern resident killer whales were detected at 10 of the 15 sites. So not every place had detections of killer whales. So when you're looking at like when you set up your locations to install those microphones, you're like trying to operate on a guess of like where you think they're going to be. And for the most part, they got a lot of them. But there were some sites where either during that study period, the whales weren't there, or the whales don't use that habitat at all. More often, the differences between the two groups, the southern residents were more likely to be encountered at inshore recording sites, and the northern resident killer whales were more likely to be encountered at offshore sites. But there was an overlap where both populations were at the offshore sites in the springtime, and they speculate that has to do a lot with the salmon run and where the fish are. Yeah.
Wait, and they were both there together? I thought they didn't. They didn't ever
I don't
meet.
know if they're both there like at the exact same time, but like from February to March or February to May, I think they were both detected on the same hydrophones. But it may not have been like both populations on the same day, but like in that same time period. They were more likely encountered out there.
Maybe they do see each other. I know that it's the transients and the residents can't, like, they don't even come within a few miles of each other sometimes.
Yeah, 2 ships in the night basically just like pass each other and that's it.
It's interesting that we're talking about this paper now because I know that some of our friends up in Vancouver Island got a sighting of northern residents just a few days ago, which is super, super rare for them. I think it was the A42 pod of northern resident killer whales, which they never come down really into the San Juan Islands or the Canadian Gulf Islands. Like they're way further north up into the Strait of Juanafuca. Yeah. So that's super cool that we're actually talking about that.
Yeah. I don't know who. I mean, I was just like what I heard, but people think that like the southern residents are just kind of first with losing their salmon, but like the northern residents aren't going to be too far behind them too.
Right, exactly. And so, I mean, the northern residents have had more robust breeding success, and I think maybe that has to do with them feeding on different runs of salmon that are doing better.
But apparently the northern residents get the first pick at the salmon, don't
they? That's what it is. Yeah.
So the salmon push off and up into the Gulf of Alaska, and then when they return back onto, Canada and the U.S., the mainland U.S., contiguous U.S., I guess I should say, the northern residents are picking them off before they get all the way down into those inshore sites.
Yeah, and there's a lot of river systems, even in BC, northern BC, that coming out of the Strait of Gibraltar, Strait of Georgia, Strait of Georgia, which is also what I meant to say earlier. It's not the Strait of Juanafuca, it's the Strait of Georgia up north that kind of feeds up there, and that's where a lot of the salmon runs come down. And like we said, the northern residents get the first pick, which we're not saying that like the northern residents, because they get the first pick, that's why the southern residents are having a tough time. I think
I think it's more of a symptom of a bigger issue with the fishery. It's not
exactly
the dams and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And as if those Washington salmon runs continue to collapse and then that Klamath River system recovers, you may see those two populations get even further apart from each other.
Absolutely.
You know, like if the Southern Oregon and California runs of salmon start to do better than what's going on in the Columbia and what's going on the Fraser River, I mean, who knows? That being said, we're having a terrible time for young salmon right now, like literally right now. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. But basically, why this is important is the northern resident killer whales and southern resident killer whales are the same ecotype. So they eat the same prey item and they share a lot of like cultural characteristics. So from management perspective, you could argue to manage them the same. And since they do have an overlap in critical habitat, you could push that all together into one management zone. It is like kind of cleaner on paper, so to speak. However, what this paper is getting at is there is some habitat partitioning or some habitat separation between the two populations. And so, especially in the case of southern resident killer whales, like you really got to consider all the details of where these whales are and where they are not, and figure out how to best manage them with that special consideration. But also, you know, you can't neglect the northern resident killer whales. They're also dependent on a failing species of fish.
Absolutely. So. It's interesting that, like, you know, they're obviously northern residents are what, a couple hundred, 300. And I think the southern residents are at 75, you know, so it's like, what's the difference really there? Mm-hmm. And the only thing I really can see is location, right? Like, well, maybe their ability to move around, and
yeah, some of it is their habitat use and their preferences, and that southern residents in particular are trying to forage on salmon runs that are just historically not doing well. But also southern residents, I think, were the main target of the captive industry for a long time.
Yeah, and so that definitely hit
cultural and
hard.
Genetic collapse from that is also, I think, has echoing effects across the generations of whales. So
sure. It's interesting we're talking about this. I mean, like, I think it was literally just yesterday everybody was posting about how there's been 100 days with no with no jays in the San Juans, which is like historic. And it keeps getting worse. Like, I remember when I worked there, it was like, this is the first year on record since the 1970s that they haven't been seen in the month of June. And there was seen.
Yeah, so I was there. I saw that.
And then, yeah, you were there too.
Yeah, because I remember going into the lighthouse. You know how they have it. Have you been to that lighthouse on Limekiln? They have a big calendar in there where they mark all the days. Mm-hmm. And so I remember that happening.
And it just seems like it's getting worse. Like, they're obviously having to, you know, like everybody says like these are their, you know, ancestral summer feeding grounds. So, you know, history says they're here and they're in the San Juans in the summer, and that the past couple of years that just hasn't been the case because there's not enough food for them, and that's quite obvious. Like, they're obviously going somewhere else for food.
Hopefully it's getting worse in the San Juan Islands, but where they're at when they're not there is why they're there, you know, and they're like feeding.
Apparently
and they're doing well out there.
Feed off of like Swiftsure Bank, which is essentially the west coast of that Washington Canada border. But wherever they are, you know, I hope they're doing well.
Mm-hmm.
Peace be with you.
Peace be with you.
Okay, so let's switch to the Atlantic Ocean and talk about the very poorly studied killer whales over there. I guess I wouldn't say poorly studied. Not commonly encountered killer whales over there. So this paper that I was looking at also came out in March. This was in Scientific Reports, and it's the distributions of Arctic and Northwest Atlantic killer whales inferred from oxygen isotopes. So basically how they collected the samples to get this information is they needed it from teeth of killer whales. And so all of the samples were collected from stranded animals or museum specimens. And they were looking at a couple different isotopes, but the part that tells the geographic information is the oxygen isotopes. Now I had to look up another paper about how they do this with humans, like on
Just doing schoolwork out there,
Katlyn.
Katlyn.
Yeah.
Dude, how do you have time for this? Don't you work full time? Aren't you working like 6 days a freaking week? What the heck?
For something else too, but here we are.
I know you are, but
anyways,
geez.
So
first off, let me pause real quick. What is with the to the 18th power to the OP to the C to the SC to the ECA to the E equals MC squared?
Those are the isotopes, dude.
Okay,
decaying isotopes.
The way they write the different isotopes is like they put O for oxygen and then they put that 16 or that 18. So what you're looking at when you're using a stable isotope of oxygen is you're comparing the ratio of oxygen 16 to oxygen 18. And those things are found in your teeth because as your teeth mineralize, they make a new layer of dentine is what toothed whales have. I mean, we have enamel and a little bit of dentine. They have more dentine. Anyways, so you analyze the ratio between those two isotopes, and that tells you where in the world you were when your teeth were making those layers.
What?
Yeah. And in the North Atlantic, that's where there's the most pronounced oxygen 18 gradient in the world. So you can get very fine-tuned geographic information using that isotope if you're studying the North Atlantic, because the way the Gulf Stream works across that ocean habitat, you get a really fine-tuned look at where the heck these animals were. So anyways, that's
Why is there more oxygen?
Google it.
Freaking
Google
18.
So there, you're telling me they're gonna be like,
you know how when they do archaeological sites and they're like, oh, carbon dating shows this skeleton was blah 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 this many million years old. So it's kind of the same thing, but with oxygen instead of carbon.
So with my teeth, they can tell that I've been eating veggie grill
in California.
In California.
Dude, I remember learning about all this, but I can't remember why certain areas.
It's like the degradation of those signature things over time. They lose electrons or something.
Well, and
they have a half-life and blah blah blah.
They're losing neutrons, and it's like as the isotope decays, it changes.
Yeah. And there's a well documented rate that it decays at. So that's how you know how much time it was. Anyway,
I'm not smart enough for this.
Google it.
All right.
Google it.
So they had these categories of where these whales stranded that they collected from. So they had the Eastern Canadian Arctic, which they had 10 individuals from. They had the Northwest Atlantic, which they had 7 individuals from. They had 2 from Greenland and 3 from Denmark. And the ones from Greenland and Denmark were from museum collections. So of the 10 Eastern Canadian Arctic whales, 9 actually stranded alive or were found frozen in a minimal state of decomposition. And then one of the samples, they didn't actually really have any stranding information, but they were fresh animals. So they're pretty confident that those animals died in the Eastern Canadian Arctic habitat. Then of those strandings, a few of them actually stranded as a group. Some were found alone. In the Northwest Atlantic, 5 whales live stranded or were found in minimal state of decomposition. And then 1 whale was in advanced stages of decomposition. So you get a little less information about how far the carcass drifted from that habitat. Yeah. And then 1 there was no data on. 95% of the killer whales that they sampled the teeth indicated that those killer whales lived normally in a range around the Eastern Canadian Arctic or the Northwest Atlantic. So they stayed up in the northern latitudes. 1 sample had stable isotope levels that didn't make any sense, and so they have it in the paper, but it's kind of throws all the other data off. Outlier. Yeah. So that sort of fits with what they think. The killer whales kind of keep to their own up there, but there was a couple samples that showed that maybe these whales also go all the way down to the lower latitudes towards the equator, towards the Caribbean.
No.
Yeah.
No.
You're lying to us.
No, I'm not.
You're lying.
So then they pulled some data And some of this is from like, I think it was written in Icelandic, and I wish I could get the translated paper in English, but I can't find it. So, anyways, if you know anything about that, let me know. But basically, they put in some information in the discussion that said killer whales are observed year round in low numbers throughout the Caribbean, and large numbers of killer whales were observed by whalers in the 1800s in widespread offshore areas known as the Western Ground. And the Western Ground goes from Bermuda to the Azores.
No.
Yeah. So then it also
Right
says
here.
limited data preclude interpretations of killer whale residence patterns in either region, but they also suggest that there may be resident and migratory populations stretching from the Bay of Fundy to the equator.
No.
But what does this mean for us? Like, do we
don't
need to go there?
We need to
Do
know more.
we need to go there?
Sounds like we have to travel.
But like,
Dude,
why can't I see killer whales off of Massachusetts? That's what I want to know.
Because we need a sailboat.
They're probably taking the outer shelf. They're probably in
No,
the middle
exactly.
of goddamn nowhere
Yeah. Exactly.
that nobody is. So
I'll tell you right
Dude,
where they're at, dude. Let me Google map it. Find a screenshot.
I think killer whales, like when you compare killer whales to like humpback whales in terms of their populations, like I feel like we know way more about killer whale populations than we do. I mean, sorry,
disagree.
we
I
know
think
way
we
more
know more
about,
about
no,
humpback
you're
whales,
that's sorry, that's what I meant to say. But like really, like, and you look at it like, can you say there's different ecotypes of humpbacks? I guess you probably could.
I think discrete breeding segments is a better word, because there is, especially in the Pacific, there is so much mixing between breeding populations.
That's very true.
So,
but are those? Yeah.
And
I'm just trying to think,
like
what
there's a lot more
defines
mixing than anyone
than we
realized
think.
before.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But like, what do we define as an ecotype? Like
well,
as
the ecotypes
a
for killer
group of
whales,
animals that like
language, behavior, markings, and diet all go together to determine an ecotype.
And yeah. So you think an Australian humpback and a California humpback can talk to each other because they look different, they eat different things, they're in different locations.
Yeah, they can.
But do they?
I already know.
I think so.
Can they talk the same language? They're like, yo, what's up? And they're like, bonjour. Like,
no, he just hits it with a flipper.
I mean, okay, I think a better place to think about that is like Costa Rica. The very late northern hemisphere whales could be interacting with the very early southern hemisphere whales.
Whoa. Did you just invent something?
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Yeah. Okay, so anyways, to wrap up this paper, as per usual, their conclusion says we need to study this more, but they do feel that the stable isotope data is pretty compelling. So then it's kind of perfect that the next paper is about killer whales in the Caribbean. So I actually stumbled across this article because it was like a news article through this academic institution in Florida. And then I was like, well, let me try and find the full paper. And the full paper.
And you did.
The full paper came out in Frontiers in Marine Science in April of this year. And it's the feeding ecology of elusive Caribbean killer whales inferred from Bayesian stable isotope mixing models and whalers' ecological knowledge. So we're on this isotope thing again. So what, Slater?
I'm sorry. This is bad. I was doing something so bad. Dude, because I was looking up whales on Google Earth, and there are actually so many whales seen from Google Earth, like satellite.
Really?
Yeah, I don't. Whatever you were talking about brought me to that, but it was like, so I looked it up, and then there's whales like you can see from Google Earth. Because I was like,
the link.
Oh, it was because I was like, we need to find out where these killer whales are, and so I Googled, can you find whales from there? But the thing is they're all over like in front of Motlaya and like all off of there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it makes sense.
Take a nap there all day, every day.
Sorry, that was.
Anyways,
back to reality. That was amazing.
Okay, so this population of killer whales in the Caribbean, well, what could maybe be more than one population, who knows? The way that they studied these ones is they took samples from killer whales that had been harvested by whalers in the Caribbean. So there are several whaling nations in the Caribbean, they worked with whalers that work out of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And they also collected some pilot whale samples. They did some vessel-based surveys and did some biopsy work. And then to go with the stable isotope data, they also interviewed whalers about their observations on the water. And the whaler interview data is like over 12 years worth of interviews. So I think this institution works pretty closely with this community of people.
And what do you mean by whaler? Like I know they still kill.
They subsistence hunt for whales, like for meat.
And I know they still kill killer whales in the Caribbean.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, and they hunt, I think, pilot whales and other small cetaceans, because one of the big anecdotes that came out of the whaling interviews is that if killer whales were around, they couldn't find other small odontocetes to hunt, which gave the whalers the impression that that's what the killer whales are eating, is small odontocetes. Gotcha. Because they're all of a sudden those animals became scarce if killer whales were around. So the whole point of the study was trying to put all this together to figure out, like, what are these whales eating? Like, is it more than one population or more than one ecotype? And what they came together with is they think about 60% of the diet of those killer whales is actually of odontocetes. It's not even necessarily small odontocetes. It's Fraser's dolphins, spotted dolphins, and then I learned a new word today, and I'm probably going to say it wrong. Teuthophagous whales. So those are squid specialists. Sperm whales, other kogia, so like pygmy and what's the other one? Pygmy and dwarf sperm whale. Yeah. Pilot whales, Rizzo's dolphins, those all fall in that category. So they think 60% of their diet is toothed whales, and then the rest of their diet potentially is sharks, turtles, and tunas. And
that'd be so sick.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're essentially ETPs, but they're ETAs.
ETCs? No. Eastern, no.
Yeah.
Western?
Atlantic, but
Eastern Tropical Caribbean. Atlantic. Yeah, ETAs.
She was saying Eastern Tropical Caribbean.
Tropical Caribbean.
Oh wait, it would Is it still Eastern?
That's redundant.
Southern,
it would be Western.
They're Southern Caribbean. So St. Vincent and the Grenadines is like how the Caribbean like comes all the way down almost to Turks and Caicos is like actually off of South America. So they're the next set of islands up from Turks and Caicos. So it'd be like Southern Caribbean.
Southern Caribbean.
Yeah. And like the sharks and turtles and tunas, some of that is speculation on isotopes, but the whalers actually also sometimes would examine the stomach contents when processing the whale, and they would find pieces of turtles in there. And then they have a lot of wear on their teeth, so that gave them the idea for sharks. So yeah, more places to go find out things.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is that we need to take Slater's boat, haul it down to the Caribbean, and just spend like.
Are we gonna haul it down to the Caribbean, Adam?
Get to Florida, dude, and then just hopscotch our way down.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Also, there was
sounds real safe.
Let me see if I.
Or we go to like Louisiana, because remember that freaking middle of nowhere hodgepodge of life.
Oh, that's true.
In the Gulf. I
don't think
Mexico.
we have enough fuel to get there.
We got a tank full of gas and a hunger for exploration.
Anyways,
Adam does. We don't.
There's also some sort of small note in the paper saying that they wouldn't rule out baleen whales, especially humpback whales. I mean, the killer whales that they are looking at are quite a ways south of
breeding grounds.
The breeding grounds in the Caribbean for humpback whales, but for these type of animals, several hundred miles to 1,000 miles is really not a big deal. And they also speculate that since Brutus whales are seen there occasionally, that they may also be on the menu for these whales.
Wow.
So
the tropical killer whales are just like absolute badasses.
Ruthless.
They don't give a shit. They're like, whatever.
Yeah, they're flipping turtles way up in the air.
Seriously though.
Like you thought the Harbor Seal video? No, they're flinging turtles, dude.
Yeah. I think
imagine.
I think to make a living in those low latitudes, that's like what you have to do, right? You know, like they have such high energy demands
Well,
that
that's
like
yeah.
they can't specialize. They have to be a generalist predator.
Yeah.
Dude, killer whale ecotypes, even when you look at it from just like I think now that we're talking about, the tropics, like at a longitudinal standpoint, like they vary so much by the latitude at which they're found.
Mm-hmm.
Like
well, and
that
if you think
is
about
crazy.
its body size, the only other large cetaceans that are resident to the tropics are squid specialists. So if you're not a squid specialist, you can't really be a specialist in the low latitudes.
Yeah.
Not if you're going to be big. Like dolphins, sure, but they also chase around really small fish all day.
Small fish, yeah.
And they are more of they're a fish and small squid generalist, and they're not very big. But like British whales, not very big. Humpback whales, they don't really eat when they're there. So
dude, the world is wild. The world of whales is wild.
Why we like them, Adam?
Honestly. But like now I have to go freaking to the Caribbean to find these killer whales that are assassin whales that freaking eat everything.
We have to go so many places. Are you like forgetting about everywhere else?
I know.
What about Argentina? You want to go see some southern right whales?
What about Canada? We got all kinds,
Antarctica,
both sides of
Great
Canada
Norway,
and the middle. We gotta
all over
go.
but the Bering Sea, all over to Japan. I gotta go.
I know, but now we're adding another one.
We've been wanting to go there, dude.
That is probably like, could you imagine? Because I think there was a paper or something on the ETPs that said like what they do is like they like twirl the sea turtles like on their rostrum to like mess with them. Like, could you imagine seeing that?
I've seen them put a mola on their melon while they're spy hopping.
True.
What? Where's the picture,
dude?
Where's the picture?
Somewhere, honestly, on a hard drive somewhere.
Do you actually?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'll cry.
What do you know, Adam? Do you pay attention?
I'll cry right now. Dude, that's something I've never heard. A mola on its freaking forehead while it spy hops.
Yeah. There was a bunch of juvenile ones. They were just harassing this poor mola, and then all of a sudden they like spy hopped and were balancing it on their melon, and I was like, what is going on?
If I ever saw anything like that, I would
pass out.
Be happy to die. I would die happy. Like, that's insane.
Okay, last publication. This is a very recent publication.
I don't know if I'm ready for it.
One that we've been asking for since the history of the Whale Nerds podcast.
I am ready for it.
There has been an updated version of the killer whale catalog for the West Coast.
Yeah.
So this is, if you want to learn how government science works a little bit, this is actually called a NOAA technical memorandum. So this is a follow-up to a previously published document.
Who now?
Update of the 1997 killer whale catalog put out by Southwest Fisheries Science Center and the research scientists that they collaborate with to get this stuff done. Some new notes on the updates. The ID system, like the numbering system, has completely changed. But there are some explanations and notes in the beginning of the catalog explaining that. And then also, so in addition to just like, here's the pictures of the whales and here's the IDs, they have an intro and explanation section. It covers a range of Point Conception in California to Astoria in Oregon. And it defines the difference between a coastal transient and an outer coastal transient. It mostly focuses on what's called outer coastal transients. Those are the bigs or the transient killer whales that are commonly sighted in California. And then it has different sections of whales. There's like some that are like OCTs, but then some that are unknown that could be part of that same group but they didn't have enough evidence to say that they were, but they include the IDs anyway. And then they also have some of the T's from up north that are sighted in a more southern part of the range. And then they have maps, they have sighting logs, and they have some other data to go with all the photos and ID numbers. And they do have some of the commonly encountered matrilines like organized together, so you can see like the whole family group. So new catalog's out. You can download it to your heart's content.
Shout out,
calling them by their names.
Shout out Josh McKinnis.
So
Shout out Josh.
Well, and Peggy, Stab, Stephanie.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people are involved, and it's very time consuming and laborious project. And after those big killer whale years in 2015 and 2016, I mean, now would be the time to put out the new data, because those set of years, I felt pretty confident that they saw like 75 to 85% of the currently existing population checked into Monterey Bay and other parts of Central California at least once during those years. And so, I mean, there were some whales sighted those years that hadn't been seen for 8 to 10 years prior.
That's crazy.
So, yeah.
Oh, these things boggle my mind on the daily. That's crazy. Your boy also has some pictures in that catalog.
Oh yeah, I saw your name in the credits actually.
Yeah, I'm in there.
So, yeah, and I always, if we have an episode like this one where it's just us and we're doing papers and stuff, when I go to post that the episode's live with the YouTube link on our Facebook page, in the comments section, I put all the links to all the show notes. So if you want to, you can search all these things as I read off the names. But if you're like, listening to this in a place where you can't take notes, then the hot links to all the articles that I talked about will be in the comment section of the Facebook post about this episode. So don't fret. If you want to look at some of these things, they will be available to you. You can also DM us and I'll send you the link. No problem.
No problemo.
You got it.
Yeah. So yeah. Reunited, and it feels so good. And killer whales around the world.
It's been since 1997. That is crazy. The freaking Pacific Northwest comes out with a new one like every year.
Yeah. Well, everybody's got eyes on those whales all the time.
That's true.
Well, they used to, not anymore.
Yeah, right.
And that's not for a lack of trying.
Yeah. Anyways, I'm super stoked that this is out. I look at it all the time. What's up?
Dude, so many people we know are cited in this actually.
What do you mean?
I guess that makes sense. Contributors. Like I literally know like that half of that list. They're all from Monterey.
OCT 30 is Emma. OCT 30B, Luis.
There you go.
Yeah, that's gonna be tricky.
It's gonna take a second to get used to, but
at least there's numbers to call them by, I guess.
Can I pick the whale of the week? They're never gonna know how to spell it though.
Are you picking a trait?
Teuthophagous whale.
Teuthophagous farters.
TEUTHOPHAGEOUS.
You just said all the letters of the alphabet. What do you mean?
How do you spell it again? Hit me with it one more time.
TEUTHOPHAGEOUS.
Teuthophagous.
Teuthophagous.
Robin.
What? Who's Robin?
What?
Dude, just copy and paste it from the notes.
Who's Robin? I think it said Robin Baird.
Yeah.
Wow, what the heck is this? This is a freaking dragon.
That's the whale of the week. Anyways, but thank you all if you made it this far. We missed you on our normal routine, so thanks.
I'm glad
with us.
I missed the normal.
Robin Beck is what it was.
It's just like it's so fun.
And thanks for following us online. If you don't already, on Facebook and Instagram, it's @WhaleNerds. And if you want to check out our website, sign up for our mailing list, see what we got going on, it's thewhalenerds.com. And thank you to all our Patreon supporters. We really appreciate you all in there. And thank you to the California Season supporters.
Yeah.
And if you haven't seen the trailer for California Seasons, it's on our YouTube channel, because I know we didn't distribute it as well as we probably could have.
Well, we have a lot of filming and stuff.
It's
going to be a big project, so
the trailer I'm talking about. Yeah.
And you can follow along with the California Seasons film on Instagram @california.seasons.
Adam will be posting on there by himself.
Exactly. Anyways, thanks for listening, guys. It was a fun one. I missed these normal podcasts. These are fun. We're just like crazy, and like Slater's just like slapping his wrists together. I have a mustache now. That's
you
pretty
had to
cool.
bring it up again one more time. All right, thanks everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
See ya.